Hey everybody, this is Dan for GemmyD on Cars. It's been a little bit since I made some videos, but we're back at it with some cool cars. Now behind me, this is a 2022 Mercedes-AMG SL55. The SL name for Mercedes has been around forever. The cousin to this car is the iconic Mercedes SL300 Gullwing, you know, the car that sold for like $140 million. But this is the 7th generation. It's brand new for 2022. This thing has a 4-liter twin turbo V8, 469 horsepower. It'll go 0 to 60 in about a little bit under 4 seconds. Now there is an SL55, which is still the same 4-liter motor, but with 577 horsepower. That thing is even more insane, different tune, more power, but this is certainly more than enough car for lots of people. Now, if you know whose car this is, you know, this is probably the 3rd time I've been back to do his cars, but he's always gracious, so thank you to him. So we're gonna take a look at the SL55. Now, very quickly, now this car has a couple competitors, and I really haven't driven that many cars that are in the segment like this. I did drive that Lexus LC500, which is another beautifully designed, you know, 4-seat drop top that had a big V8 as well, about 467 horsepower, so very similar. So that's really the only thing I have to compare this to. I've never driven the BMW 8 Series, which I would love to, but the SL has always had a reputation for being like a grand tour for basically old white guys, but now AMG is trying to get back to their base, you know, do a little bit more sporty. I mean, this doesn't look like your typical, you know, GT cruiser. Now, when I was a kid, I always remember the SLs that were out in the 90s, the SL300 and the SL500. I always thought they were like $300,000 and $500,000. I was a little wrong, but that was, you know, back in my younger days. But this car is on sale for about 150 grand. Give or take a little bit with the options. Now the SL63 is like $30,000-$40,000 more, and the owner just didn't really feel like that was necessary. I would think this is more than enough car. You know, he goes through cars and he experiences a lot of different things, and he just can't get rid of this one. So let's talk about the motor. Before we get to the motor, let's talk about how this thing looks. Now this is a pretty big car. I mean, I drove the owner's 911. I'd say this is a little bit bigger, maybe 5% bigger than that 911 GTS that I drove. But okay, look at the business end here. We'll start with the front. Now it does have the Panamericana grille slats, which are pretty standard along all the performance-oriented versions of Mercedes cars. It does have the angry sort of LEDs right there. I love the big, huge intakes. I mean, this thing has some serious performance, and of course, the slats on the grills, the huge Mercedes logo right there. But moving around to the side, now I always feel like Mercedes does the brakes the most. I think it used to be that all the yellow caliper Mercedes AMGs were the carbon ceramic brakes, and I'm actually not sure if this is or not, but you've got staggered wheel options. You got a 275 front and a 305 section width tire in the back. There's your V8 bi-turbo badge right there. This is all-wheel drive, finished in white, but I love the look of these AMG wheels. Now, lots of other AMGs have been a little controversial lately, like the C63, because they don't offer a big V8 anymore. That car used to have this same engine, or similar, but they don't anymore. They've gone to a hybrid 4-cylinder. But either way, I think this is a good-looking car. I like it goes along with the design language of all current Mercedes. We'll put the top down in a little bit, but just moving around to the back. Now, another thing that Mercedes does correctly is the exhaust tips. This does have the ginormous sort of sort of rectangular staggered exhaust tips right there. Sounds so fantastic. All right, here's what the exhaust sounds like right here. So wasn't that cool? So now Mercedes has done, they've gone to the bigger headlights and now taillights, and now they just sort of squint them a little bit and make them a little more linear there. The C-Class, E-Class, S-Class, everything has done that. But yeah, this is the 55. Used to be that the 55 stood for a 5.5 liter V8, but they sort of got rid of that for the engines, but they kept the names. Of course, there is the iconic AMG badge right there from a Falterbach in Germany. So you got a little bit of wide hips right there. Looks pretty good. But yeah, this is it's a good looking car. There's not too many options in this segment coming forward. You know, everything is moving different ways, but I'm glad that they came back for a 7th generation for the SL. So let's take a look at the motor and then we'll put the top down. All right, here's a look at the 4-liter twin turbo V8. I mean, this is big. I mean, we were just talking, it's a huge compartment there, you know, from the A-pillar forward there. But I mean, 4 liters is a big motor. This is handcrafted by Ines Sehan, so thank you, Mr. Sehan, for all you did for this car. But yeah, so this will go 0 to 60 in I think just about a tick under 4 seconds. Mercedes for years has done the 4-liter twin turbo. You know, Audi does a similar thing with the 4-liter. BMWs do 4.4. But yeah, AMG right there, Mercedes-Benz oil recommended. Yeah, there's not much else to say. This is just a nice German handcrafted big V8. So, all right, let's take a look at the trunk quick and then we'll put the top down. And another thing, here's the wing right here. There's a button on the screen in there where you can flip this up, and I'm sure it goes up at a certain speed, but that's kind of cool. You can do that independently. Now, one thing that's kind of hard to notice are the lights. But yeah, you can see where the turn signals go. It's a bunch of tiny little LEDs, but when you hit the yellow there is also the same thing as the red of the brake lights. So let's just take a look at the trunk real quick. I like the shape of these new AMG keys. It's kind of cool. This is AMG, so if we click and hold this, that's power operated. Now this has a feature where, okay, there's the button where if you get trapped in there. But if you hit, oh, actually no, this doesn't have the thing. There used to be, I think on some 55s, you can press a button that gives you a little bit more space right there. But I mean, you're not really using this for, you know, to a whole bunch of stuff. There's a huge pair of shoes right there. That just fits just great. I mean, you don't buy these cars for the cargo space. But yeah, not too bad. All right, let's put the top down and then go check out the interior. All right, so I just took the top down. That's what it looks like. Beautiful German engineering right there. Those things just slide out of the way. Now there is a button I'll show you on the inside where you can press and hold, or there's a thing you can swipe on the screen there. But it looks like a, you know, any nice drop top convertible right there. So let's take a look at the inside. Now the owner did say that these door handles are kind of frustrating. When the car is locked, they are flush with the body, but to open it up, you sort of swipe your finger around the whole thing, and he said that's pretty frustrating. It does say Mercedes-Benz right there. I can't imagine in the cold, if you're, you know, if the car's frozen, if that even works. So now, the other thing, Mercedes design language has sort of been all over the place lately. Now they just do the big sort of iPad screen in the middle, and this is about a 12-inch screen. But my buddy and I here have been saying that this AMG wheel is pretty much perfection. I mean, it is just a gorgeous steering wheel. They've gone with the 2 spokes on either side. And we were looking at some GLEs and GLCs that have a certain steering wheel that it's just so ugly, but this is not one of them. So Mercedes always does a great job with these vents. They sort of look like airplane propellers. You got them everywhere around. This does have the Burmeister audio. The other thing Mercedes does very well is the ambient lighting. You can sort of see the purple lights right there. They are around the center of the vents and behind there and over all around, and Mercedes does a fantastic job with that. So there's a lot of customization you can do. I'm going to turn it on just so we can hear it. So ready? Yeah, so it sounds pretty good. Now these buttons here is where you can change the settings for the suspension and the exhaust. Now that we are in comfort right here, but if you just twist this bad boy, go into sport, everything changes on the main screen right there, and the gauges are customizable too. But listen to when you go into Sport Plus. Oh yeah, way deeper, way throatier. Now it does have a limiter to 4,000, so if I give it the gas right here, you can only get up to 4 grand right there, which is, you know, it's just what German cars do lately. But a lot of cool stuff. Now one thing that this screen, you can change the angle of it depending on what the sunlight is, because as you can see the tree back there. There is so much glare on these screens, so this button right here, you can change the display angle. It moves. So the highest you can get it is all the way right here. So I mean, there's so much space behind there. Now when you go back, I mean, there's just a bunch of space back there. It's just interesting that that's a nice feature. But I would keep it sort of like this as much as I could. Now, this does have the MBUX system, which is fantastic. You know, the very snappy map, lots of cool features. Now the air conditioning controls are always right here. Just go up and down. But since this is an AMG, it does have the performance page where you can go into a bunch of stuff. Their PSI, but the engine, I mean, it'll give you in real time. As I do a blip of the throttle, it'll tell you. And look, it's like a little, you know, heart rate monitor there. Just look at that. That is just so cool. I'm a sucker for graphics. But consumption, terrible, doesn't matter. But anyway, this is pretty cool. Now, there's a couple things you can change on the dash here too, as I have an ant walking on my screen. So you do these little touch buttons right here. Okay, Super Sport, so we'll see, we'll go into Sport. I mean, that's just awesome. Let's see what else we can go into here. Classic, classic Mercedes right there. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Understated, navigation, assistance. Now if you go into navigation, that's like the virtual cockpit. I mean, there's your whole screen there. You still have your miles per hour up top right there. But I mean, this is the type of customization and personalization that you need in a car that you're spending money like this. Super Sport, track pace. There's a picture of the Nürburgring. But yeah,
please check your Mercedes-Me settings to use online functions of the voice system.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mercedes. All right, so we're gonna go back to, I think, just the Sport right there. But yeah, all the materials are fantastic. Nice leather. You can get like carbon fiber right here. This car doesn't have it. Beautiful seats. Now this doesn't have the air scarf either, but that's a technology. Oh yeah, here it is right here. And you hit the button on the window right there, air scarf. There's the button right there. So if you could drive this in the winter, there's 3 different settings right there. Okay, I don't know why my chair keeps moving. Oh, I hit the preset. But anyway, that air scarf is a pretty cool feature if you're going to drive with the top down in colder, cooler weather, I'll say. So yeah, Mercedes, as always, I mean, you're paying a lot of money, but this is a beautifully designed interior. They really sort of mix it up as far as the different things that they do in the interiors, and this steering wheel is absolutely fantastic. So let's wrap this up and get out on the road. One thing I did not mention, Mercedes always does the column mounted shifter right here. That's how you go into reverse.
In order to use online functions of the voice system, please check your Mercedes-Me settings.
Shut up, car. So this does not have a dual clutch automatic. This is a torque converter, 9-speed automatic, but there are our paddle shifters right there. They feel very nice in your hand. Nice satisfying click. So I had to leave that out. Couldn't leave that out. All right, so this is just a quick walk around of a Mercedes-AMG SL55. Now, the owner of this car, he used to have a Porsche 911 GT3, and he said the performance of this thing will be surprisingly comparable to the GT3 as far as straight line speed. I mean, you're not going to touch that thing going around corners, but we're going to get this thing on the road. But I'm glad Mercedes has continued to develop this car. This is the 7th generation SL. It's very expensive, starting around $150,000. You can get a lot of other cars for that price point, you know, Lexus LC, Mercedes, even a Carrera, Porsche 911. But I like the sort of vibe that Mercedes has. It's typically German, beautifully engineered, and I think it's a very gorgeous car inside and out. I'm very excited to get it out on the road. So if you like videos like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at GemmyD on Cars. Stay tuned for my drive video coming out next, and I will see you on the next one. See ya.
Artlist.io